up, everyone? My name's Chris Marshall with my boy Frank G. We are the hosts of Build Your Empire podcast. Frank G, tell the people what we do.
What's going on, everybody? Chris and I, we discuss established empires while showcasing us building ours.
We thank you for listening. Without you, there is no us. I feel like Santa Claus right now. Frank, you're looking like an elf. I guess that's cool though.
I don't really want to be an elf, but
I don't really want to be Santa Claus. I got a beard right now. That's the longest I've ever had a beard, and it's frustrating due to maintenance, and it's just frustrating having a beard, to be honest.
maybe you should play Santa Claus like Diet White for the kids on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, well, we're trying to not see people due to the pandemic, and seeing kids while trying to be Santa Claus just seems irresponsible.
Not if
But
it's
with that,
like for your cousins.
or nephews,
Yeah.
maybe. I mean, I don't, the beard, and you can go on YouTube, subscribe, check it out, comment, and you can see me be Santa Claus and Frank be an elf, I suppose. You'll know what the reference is. Um, I don't know if I want to dye my beard white.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you. Just would be funny to see.
Then maybe I'll do it for you, pal.
Appreciate that.
Now, today's episode, I think, is going to be a fun episode. Drugs, prostitution, sports betting, alcohol. I think that's all. That could be fun to many people, some of our listeners.
Drugs and prostitution, the first two.
Well, I mean, look, that didn't mean to be the first two. It could be alcohol, drugs, sports betting, and prostitution.
All right. I'm interested.
So my point is, everybody has a vice, right? And I think those four vices are mainly the vices. What's so funny over there?
I mean, we're already telling off airs that they're either into drugs, alcohol, or prostitution,
or gambling. Look, it's not for everyone, but I'm pretty sure that somebody prefers or likes one of those four things. Everybody has a vice, at least from what I experience and see.
Did you want to share your vices before we jump into this or no?
I mean, if we're going to go Stephen A. Smith, I love me the weed. And I guess I'll take a shot of Ciroc. And
shot of Ciroc in the background right there.
Yeah. And, we went over pre-show how gambling gives me way too much anxiety. In fact, I made it to, my fantasy finals, which I got 2,000 on the line, and I had to sell my opponent on, let's split this because I don't want the anxiety of watching the game and have 2,000 or nothing.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm also in the fantasy finals, hoping for a win. I don't think I'm going to do the split, but I typically don't like to gamble because when you don't win, it just feels like such a waste of money. When you win, it's great.
So we can get into that right now, right? Because what I'm getting at are that these vices, in one way, shape, or another, should be either legalized for business purposes or accepted. And if we're going to get into the sports betting, states are already beginning to legalize it. Other states are not. Now, you can almost correlate this to stocks, right? How Bitcoin shot up, and hindsight's 2020. You missed it, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's states like New York who are missing all the tax revenues and revenues associated with sports betting, amongst many other states. Now, you have three main competitors. I think you have Penn National Gaming, you really have DraftKings, you have FanDuel. Those seem to be the major market, at least for sports betting there. Now, I bet heavy on Penn because I think Penn's going to take over. But ultimately, this is a $750 billion industry, close to it.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like New York is way more left on that side, where they're not legalizing weed yet. Weed's legal everywhere.
Sports gambling, we're going to get into. Weed is not legal everywhere, but
it's not. But New York's one of the last states that's going to be legalized, probably.
I don't think so. I mean, weed, I believe, is legalized or will be legalized in like 7 states, and I think New York, especially with having New Jersey close to it, it's prone to it. I think it's opening up. I mean, there's tons of questions to it, but And this is where alcohol is going to come into effect as well. And then where, you can compare that to weed, profits, and then health. But first, let's get into sports gambling. Right now, I think there's tons of money to be made. And out of the four vices we even stated, I almost think gambling is potentially the most dangerous when addicted.
All right, I was glad you said that. I thought you were gonna say the opposite, and I was gonna bring up how there's like Gamblers Anonymous and shit like that.
So, outside of hardcore drugs, which we'll get into when we talk about the breakdown of weed, because when I say drugs is a vice, look, I'm pro weed, I'm not pro anything else.
Yeah, pro
Oh,
caffeine, great drug, caffeine.
and, and I don't mind a mushroom or two here or there. But every other hardcore substance should be banned, should be legalized, should not be accepted, should not be condoned. And you even have countries like Sweden where if they do legalize drugs, or like Oregon, I mean, there's
Personal use is allowed.
yeah. And look, any dealer should be jailed and incarcerated. However, a user, I don't think should be, and they should seek treatment and not necessarily go to jail for years and years and years.
Well, that's essentially why things are changing in Oregon. So that to drop all those users and well, so in Oregon you have to go get treatment, otherwise I guess then you get fined
And you'll go
and
to
go to
jail or
jail.
whatever.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of reasons why. Well, they're taking. I think it's either Switzerland or Sweden because they have the same policy. But one, let me ask you this: is drug addiction a disease?
So what it does to from what I believe anyway, from what it does to you chemically and how it makes your body need that substance, it becomes a disease. It's obviously your choice to do this unless you were prescribed this for pain or something when that whole, I guess Xanax or the pills were a big thing back in the day. I would say it becomes a disease because it's super hard to fight on your own.
So I was actually going to go against you there, but you kind of, I guess, described it well. I don't think it's a disease for the simple fact you know prior to doing it what the outcome can be. So if you're self aware enough, even if you're doing it and you see yourself beginning to spiral, it is still your choice to commit to the addiction,
Yeah, essentially all these vices are you commit to gambling, you lose your house, it's on you. But
which is why I think the gambling is actually the worst of the four because it, I mean, you hear stories, at least on TV, of husbands going out to buy diapers and they bet their all the diaper cash.
yeah, and The Sopranos, I forget the guy's name, but he goes home and he plays $45,000 deep in Tony's table.
Oh yeah, the
And
guy
now
who
he
owns the
sells,
sports store.
yeah, he sells his son's car, splits with his wife,
That's
downhill.
hilarious. Tony buys the car though,
Yeah,
and
he
then
gives
gives
it
it
to his daughter.
to
Yeah,
who's the classmate of the kid.
yeah, who drove her to like school or whatever
Oh
in
yeah.
that car.
Now those stories, like they're real, and
Oh
and
yeah,
I don't understand if you're gonna pick those four vices. I mean, I love making money. The idea of losing it just gives me too much anxiety, too much stress. I can't gamble. I mean, when we went to AC when we were young, how many times I purposely try and black out to spend my money to wake up winning money, but in the end I just lost it.
yeah. I just don't enjoy gambling that much. I mean, people do it because apparently it's like one of the best adrenaline rushes, one of the best highs, but it just seems like it also causes the most damage.
I don't like that adrenaline rush.
Yeah, I mean,
It too much.
yeah, because we've been on the negative side of it more than the winning side. The house is always in the better in the better spot.
But I do think there is a lot of money to be made from states and government and business standpoint. Now, is the reason why it's not legal is because the government and states are protecting us? Like, is that an actual reason? I don't know. I would love to have a government official on to tell us, but really, I would imagine that's the only reason why.
Well, I would do it the same thing with. I would put it in the same category with like weed. It's not legal yet, and it's because there's still a bunch of people that think it's bad. So maybe, but obviously, from all the people in America, they should give us weed because everybody smokes it. Just doesn't
So,
make sense.
so I think it is bad, and I think it should be legal. Now we can go over to the weed side of things. In 2019, Denver or Colorado alone made 1.75
Billion,
billion
yeah.
off 2019 alone. Now, if you go to alcohol, how much money do you think alcohol generated in 2019?
I mean, I'm assuming there's more people buying alcohol, so it's
Of
probably
course, it's
more.
legalized across the nation, but
Yeah,
it's about a quarter billion,
quarter billion.
quarter billion, which means, I think if you were to legalize weed across states, it would still have a stigma and it would still take a while to I guess, equate to alcohol sales, right? But I mean, if you just take 2 billion times it by 50, you have 100 billion right there. Now, you could also have the debate alcohol is literally poison, while weed could be taken as medicinal medicine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're really supposed to inhale anything but this wonderful oxygen out here.
I mean, if that's the argument you're going down, while you sure like a nice stogie.
That doesn't go in your lungs.
I mean,
At least most of it. You
it
don't
seems
inhale
like
that.
it seems like it does, and if it does go in your lungs, or I could take cigarettes for another example, or
Yeah,
you
well, cigarettes has been on the train because it just makes a ton of money.
you
Less
like
money
a
than it did.
you like a nice fruity vape,
Yeah, I mean, once in a while.
sure. You probably saying that because if your mom listens, you don't want to know you're smoking a vape. But the problem is the vape is actually, I mean, that could be cigarettes from the 1980s. You just don't know about it. So in 2040, it because could be vapes could be way worse.
Yeah, I mean, that's just something we'll have to see, I guess. Like, I'll get Uber stock in 10 years.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, the point is, I think weed and gambling so far are vices and which should be legalized, although could be harmful.
Well, that makes sense why it's either not or it's in few states or it's taking forever to be legalized, at least to me. I mean, if it's going to lead to a spiral of people in debt because they decide to bet their kids' college funds, that's just not good for the US.
I see what you're saying, but it then becomes very problematic if you can go to New Jersey, make a bet, and then just go back over the bridge. I mean, if you have hot states that are already legalizing it because the states have the authority to, then it's going to eventually be universal. So the question is, why was it illegal in the first place?
I'm sure that answer could be found on the internet, but there's one place where all these vices are probably legal. Prostitution, gambling.
So now, if we talk prostitution, prostitution is legal mostly in Europe and other areas on the globe. Now, from a prostitutional standpoint, I don't know if that's a word, prostitutional.
I don't know, but are we going to make it constitutional?
Oh man, that would sure be interesting, I'm sure. But regardless, you could still probably find brothels all over illegal
Everything is done.
areas.
Everything is done on like the black market in some way. People were dealing weed forever. There's people you get a rub and tug, or you get whatever you want. Anyway, you can go
A
down the.
tuggy? A tuggy?
You probably go down the block and get a tuggy if you really want.
All right. So it is thought of that prostitution is one of the first business transactions to ever be formulated.
Yeah, I mean, I guess all these old Roman men or whoever, whatever type of men they're on, they went into these bathhouses and paid a little coin to get their thing done.
Or, yeah, get them done. I tell you, with no raises back then, you know, 20 years adds up, I'm sure. Talk about me being Santa Claus. I mean,
Oh, that's probably horrible.
well,
One river bath a month, probably.
one river bath a month. Now, now, look, I'm not going to make a point from a business standpoint here, but I'm going to make a point on why it potentially could be legal, should be legal, right?
Prostitution, that is.
Yes.
Isn't it legal in like Vegas or something?
It's legal in Nevada. It's not
Nevada.
legal in Vegas.
That's what it is. It's the state, not the
My thought on prostitution is if you were to legalize it,
AIDS everywhere.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But if you were to legalize it, don't you think that domestic violence, rape, and sex trafficking would potentially decrease on the overall scheme of things?
Why domestic violence? People are leaving their homes to go get a nut out, so they're not angry.
Well, I think domestic violence could potentially be due to a sour relationship,
So
and
it's
sour relationships typically mean no sex.
well, now it seems like we're promoting cheating here.
I mean, I'm not promoting anything. That's why it's a tough conversation on vices here. But I said it was going to be a good show, and I'm just giving away my thoughts here. I mean, I'm not condoning cheating. In fact, if you're in that type of relationship and if you're not getting laid, you probably should get out. It's just people are complacent and they just stay. They don't know how to leave, or they
I don't
they
know. I am not
age.
complacent with no sex, though. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, I mean, typically when relationships suck,
Yeah, it's the first
first
thing
thing
out the
that goes,
window.
yeah, that's the first thing that goes. Now let me ask you: when you're not having sex for like a month in a relationship, are you not that angry?
I'm probably sexually frustrated.
Sure. Now, I don't have a violent bone in my body, so I would never raise my hand to a man, nonetheless, a woman. But I can see how sexual frustration living with someone could potentially lead to domestic violence. And I'm not condoning cheating, but I'd rather, I guess, the man go leave for a tuggy than to abuse their wife or potentially rape them.
Yeah, well, I mean, we hope that we have grown as a society where those numbers are pretty are small, where you need to realize that just because you're not getting laid doesn't mean you should hit someone.
I understand that.
But if you, I mean, I can't really say I see where that could be a thing because realistically, that means you're kind of a little crazy and also probably should be in jail. Even if this is legalized, that means something about you is a little on the other side.
All right. So again, this is a sensitive topic. If you're doing any of those things, you're probably a little out of your mind. And yes, you should be watched or monitored. And yes, that's a problem.
But I'm not sure if like sex trafficking would go down. I just feel like somehow there's gonna be more of these places to go. And like there's so many things we don't know what happens, whether I don't know if the government's behind it or there's just people with power and money. They can do whatever they want. They're gonna find people. I don't think people are gonna apply like normal people to
A
be.
100%, I think they would. You're telling me strippers in strip clubs, half of them wouldn't apply to be potential prostitutes if they could double their revenues and income?
I don't think they double it. Strippers make I get stupid money.
They took all your money, huh?
They take everyone's money,
Rather give
and they
them
don't
my.
gotta touch anyone.
I'd rather give them my money than bet on the game, though.
Yeah, it's a win, and then I guess just a little loss for your pocket, but for a good time.
I mean, there's really no good time associated to that. You come home, you smell like ass, figuratively and metaphorically, and it just sucks because you're poor. But
Well, you shouldn't be doing any of these vices if you really can't afford them.
you may want to smoke a little bit of weed. It ain't that expensive. And it's better than potentially taking a shot of whiskey.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the exact correlations of it all, but or like what causes what, but yes, alcohol is definitely dangerous in excessive use.
I would say out of the four things we just named, and again, when I say I guess drugs, I'm really just speaking about weed because anything outside of weed, I mean, if you're listening and you're doing that, you probably should need some help. But outside of that, the four things that we named, I would almost argue that weed and prostitution is less dangerous than alcohol and gambling.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I would say prostitution has a chance to be pretty dangerous. just because of like
Of the health risks.
the health risks. I mean, I just don't see that being typically a calm, comfortable setting. I mean, there's definitely aggressors in there. It just seems like that could be dangerous regardless, but it's not going to kill you unless you get a sexually transmitted disease or unless somehow you get murdered.
So I see your view on it, and I wonder if that view is because you're conditioned to not being around it. Now, I'm not around it either, but I do know that in Asia and Europe, it is prevalent and legal.
Well, I mean, they figured something out that we haven't.
I mean, I guess so. But I guess the question I asked you, which seems like you're not agreeing with, which I mean, I spoke about this with a few people, is that if it was legal, would that decrease rape, domestic violence, and sex trafficking? I think yes. It seems like you're saying no.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking no. I don't know the financial situations of typical people that typically rape someone, but if you're a child molester, obviously you're still going to do that, which is awful because they are not going to be in these places. And if you're poor and you're trying to rape someone, you're not paying for sex.
I see where you're going there. That makes sense. That makes sense.
But also, yeah, I guess the horny ass people out there that just want to have sex, they'll get what they want. But I don't know. I don't see prostitution ever being legalized globally.
I mean, I think it has more of a shot of being legalized than other drugs outside of marijuana.
Well, yeah, I mean, marijuana being illegal for this long is just silly. People in
I think
prison
the
for that
50s,
is
yeah.
silly.
Well, I think the reason why it was illegal is because they made money off, finding people and then putting them through, uh,
The
the
system,
system.
yeah,
But I don't know. I mean, we don't do much research when we do these shows, but I'm curious because,
certainly more money to be made if you're selling weed legally in businesses, giving people jobs.
well, look, out of the four vices we just stated, it makes tons of sense for marijuana to be legal because marijuana by far is safer to me than alcohol. No, no contest.
Yeah, I mean, in actions and how it chemically affects your body. And I mean, you can do things on weed. You can't
I
do
mean,
anything on. You can't
and
drive on alcohol.
no. And if you try to drive on weed, you're going to spend an hour looking for your keys and you lose your high anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely more of a dangerous drug, but
Well, it's even more, yeah, but I think it would be even more dangerous from a health standpoint. I think the alcohol attacks your liver more than the weed would attack your lungs.
yeah, I mean, I don't really know, but I'm assuming there's the stigma with smoking being terrible as well. But like, I mean, nicotine smoking and whatnot, cigarettes. I don't know why weed is taking so long to be legalized. I'll tell you what, though, once it's legalized, they're not taking that back. It'll be another prohibition.
Well, well, I mean, it's certainly astonishing to see the evolution of weed within our lifetime. I mean, you go back when I started smoking it and I was 18 years old and it was heavily frowned upon, illegal, you go to jail. And now you're sitting here and it's like, oh, 60% of, Americans smoke. It's like, all right, well, why shouldn't the government profit off it?
Well, that's exactly why they have almost no choice. Sooner or later, if 60% of the American population is telling you we're going to smoke it regardless, and if you're going to screw up this prison system by making us go to jail for this, I mean, it's just a waste of time, and you could be profiting off it in other ways.
But that's what's crazy and scary is that, we're pawns in this world. So like the higher ups, are they sitting there saying, "Oh, we make more money sending people to jail?" Because I mean, the jail system in America is pretty outrageous, at least from what I hear and slightly read. I mean, if they make more money doing that than to legalize it, then those,
I can't see that, to be honest.
yeah, clearly. I mean, if the numbers are telling us Denver or Colorado alone made about 2 billion
But also, people are going to Denver and Colorado specifically to
to
smoke their
smoke
weed.
weed.
So,
I
like,
mean,
those numbers definitely Well,
inflated.
yeah.
I mean, I don't I that's a very good point you make, but I can't see more than 20% of revenues
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
from
for
that.
sure. But 20%, I mean, no, it's still gonna be a shit ton of money to be made, but it's definitely people like, "Oh, we could go there and smoke weed, maybe snowboard."
That's like a destination. Like,
Yeah,
let's go over there. I
yeah,
tell you, when I went to Denver and Cali, both you just go to the store, you buy it, and you walk out, you light it up, and walk up the block. As a New Yorker, still feels strange.
yeah, well, it's because I mean, we've been around it where it's illegal. We grew up I mean, we grew up where our parents scolded us like it was meth. Like, it's not that serious.
No.
And you even smoked it as a kid. Like, come on, dad.
Well, that that's also interesting. Are the boomers, right? The boomers have a specific stigma to it. I
It
guess
Yeah,
same thing with this older state officials, and they're transitioning out while
yeah, yeah.
millennials are coming in, and now are you seeing the change?
But, like, also, if you were living through the '70s, you have no right to tell me weed is bad.
Well, they were hallucinating, also smoking weed though.
Yeah, they were smoking a ton of weed, hallucinating. I mean,
Well, I mean, they were taking some acid or those mushrooms.
mushrooms grow naturally, so, I can't say they're terrible.
No, I mean I'm pro mushrooms as well as pro marijuana. So look, I mean if we're gonna talk two drugs here to legalized, you legalize those two, and it seems like those two are the ones that are being worked on. I guess the whole
Yeah,
national argument is what's making the sense here.
yeah, those actually are the 2 that can, give you medical benefits as well. Yes, I don't think, the hard drugs do. I mean, apparently
No,
Einstein and cocaine, that was a big thing, but I'm sure he
well,
invented a few things because of
that's because I think stimulants increase productivity.
it.
And then what are you laughing at?
The fact that we had a conversation on this, like,
Yeah,
2
I
days
think
ago.
I think stimulants increase productivity, and then you are high off the productivity, which then get addicted to the substance. But addiction's weird because everybody knows what addiction is, and you're self-aware when you're getting addicted. I don't think it's a disease for the simple fact it is the decision. And even if you get caught, it was still a decision and it cannot be a disease due to the fact it was your move.
Yeah, but, I mean, someone who knows that I mean, everyone knows you could be addicted to almost, like, anything, I guess, but a drug like heroin has significant effects on your body where you have
You need it or
withdrawals.
you get hurt.
Yeah, it's literally you get sick if you go through that phase.
I get it. I just can't see it being a disease if you consciously chose that path.
Well, what if you consciously chose to have sex with a hooker and she has AIDS and now you have AIDS? Do you have a disease or is that your stupid decision? We're not going to let you be in that category.
That is a hilarious take. That is one hell of a take. Um, I'm gonna say that's a disease, my friend. There ain't nothing you can do about that. Your
Yeah.
stupid decision. Like you win. You win. Drugs is a disease if you're addicted to it. This fucking guy changed my whole outlook.
I tell you, that would suck though.
It would suck either one
Yeah.
because you can also say, when you get hurt and that a doctor gives you an opiate and then you take it, you slowly get dependent on it. Which, I mean, I guess you're right. I guess in a way it can be a disease, but there are many people who are prescribed opiates who understand that that's what it can lead to, who refuse to take it and deal with the pain.
Yeah, I mean, I'll certainly say also that there's difference in willpower from person to person. So like, yeah, if you if you can't control that, you're more likely to be addicted. Now, I'm not saying anything against anyone, but it's really willpower as well.
So I think you make a great point. I would say it's willpower and self awareness,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And I think I think when you talk about these four vices, and you could not even add, like, you could add prostitution, but like just sex in general, I think would be a vice, right? People could be a sex addict.
Oh yeah,
They drive 2 hours just to
like
get
Tiger
laid.
Woods.
Yeah, yeah. Although he had to been paying them, so it was prostitution.
Yeah, I mean, apparently he
And
had tons of sex,
yeah, I bet you his marriage was in shambles and he wasn't getting laid.
or he was just a horn dog and not happy with his wife in other aspects. I guess he was like,
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I don't know his story, but he was at one point the biggest name out there in like all of sports.
yeah. In fact, he's making headlines because him and his son are like they just had a game the other day, which both of them are amazing. His son's 11 years old, looks exactly like him, plays exactly like him. Doesn't make
Yeah,
any
yeah.
sense.
I saw pictures of like him and his son from that game. It's crazy.
Well, to be honest, I think the Tiger Woods scandal was about 10 years ago. So I don't know if his son was. I, I'm confused there. I guess.
Well,
Is Tiger Woods and his wife still together? Do they work it out?
I I would say there's no
I
way
actually
that's
don't think
worked
so.
out.
I think Tiger Woods was dating Lindsey Vaughn for a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Tiger Woods except that he's nasty at golf, has a ton of money, and has a kid, and banged a bunch of women.
Yeah, yeah. Lindsey Vaughn though is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, well, he's the guy was like I don't know a
Yeah,
millionaire.
the biggest name in sports up until he crashed his car and had a bunch of allegations. But here in
Vices.
America, because I have a listener in France, or we do, I should say. I don't know who they are. Shout out to you.
Shout out to you in France.
But here in America, for some reason, we give people many chances.
Well, I mean, we also give people chances that have like public figure name and also with money.
I mean, yeah, but I think majority of people get chances.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess we get chances as well.
Yeah, I would say we do. I don't think I fucked up incredibly bad where I need a chance, but it's good to know you have one in the back pocket.
Yeah, apparently we all got one in the back pocket. Gotta hire a lawyer to get it.
That's true. That's true.
I forget
You,
what it's called. I'd tell you guys if I remembered.
I don't know. I don't know. But for anyone listening out there, if you get arrested, it's like you get a yellow card. You can use something in your back pocket where you kind of just walk away scot free,
You
but you
just
don't
gotta
want to
jump
use it.
through some hoops, and it's your only one.
Oh man, I tell you, when I got arrested for marijuana, which was a pain in the ass and it was pretty goddamn annoying. My
Certainly.
fucking, it was funny though. My lawyer's like, "Do you want to use this?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't see myself, getting arrested again." And he looked at me and he's like, "Well, you didn't see yourself getting arrested in the first place."
Great point right there.
I'm like, "All right, I don't want to use it. You do you. You do you."
It's a wonderful point he just made.
I tell you, I think I'm one of the best salesmen I know. A lawyer is way better than any fucking salesman.
Yeah, well, the lawyer also knows the system where we have no idea what the hell we're talking about or doing. You would have used your damn card right there.
Yeah, yes, I will. Oh man, fucking yeah. That was that was a good time, I suppose. But I think those four vices: alcohol, weed, other drugs. People should not use other drugs, sex, and gambling. It seems like Americans have a thing with at least one of those four.
I mean, probably more than just Americans. If it's legalized in Europe, clearly they figured out that they got it too. They just decided to give it to them.
I don't know, right? I mean, this is where like I wish I had someone very astute come on the show to actually tell us this, right? Because what are the numbers? Is rape down? Is domestic violence down? Is there a lot of money to be made in prostitution? Is legalizing all forms of drugs and creating rehab centers and institutions, is the crime rate down? Like, these are questions that I don't know why we're not looking directly at these countries who have these rules to create our own systems.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's much bigger like than that, with also the structure of the business, like what setting up all these plans, setting up what if something goes wrong.
Setting
Like,
up what? It already exists. Everything we're stating, there's a
yeah, but
black market.
if it's on the books and like owned, how many businesses need insurance just in case someone gets a disease or in case someone gets hurt or like forced? What if they end up getting raped just because the guy didn't want to stop or the girl didn't want to stop and they went to this like legalized prostitution place?
I don't know. I mean, apparently in Amsterdam, you got people or women dancing naked in these red cubicles out on the street.
What, the red
Uh,
light district?
yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
apparently it's a poppin' spot. You
yeah, I'd love to go to Amsterdam. Apparently, you could smoke some weed and
you go to a little like
eat a
shop.
mushroom square. You could eat some mushroom chocolates, and
You
I
can have all the
guess
vices.
yeah. Matter of fact, Amsterdam seems popping. Oh
Oh.
man, I don't know, but it's just interesting how when you look at the vices, you look at it from a business aspect and from an ethical standpoint. And ethics tell me, I think gambling and alcohol does worse than sex and weed. And from a business standpoint, it just seems like gambling and weed would outperform almost majority of businesses.
Yeah, I mean, also maybe even sex and prostitution would, because everybody has sex, not just 60%.
Yeah, but I don't think people are gonna go to have sex with prostitutes. I don't think that would be
They
like
might they may have a better name at that point. Maybe they'd just be professionals. It's got to sound nicer if it's legalized.
I guess you can't use the word hose.
Yeah, I'm sure that'd be like a slap in the face.
Yeah, but like I just can't see if that was legalized, the business to be, reaching the billions there. I mean, I would imagine half of people are just scared being in that environment, risking health.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and obviously things need to be regulated in some sort of way. So if they're vices and they're slowly either deplete your bank account or deplete your health, the government's
Bro,
looking out for you.
but if you have a guy who has not gotten laid in 2 years and is just you know, that weird kid in high school who like, you think could shoot it up. He hasn't gotten laid in 10 years. He's now 27 years old. You don't think there's danger in that? But if there was a prostitution like brothel down the block, maybe he can relieve whatever he's going through.
I mean, I think he should just go jerk off in his bed or something.
I hear what you're saying, but maybe he wants the real thing. Thomas Shelby, I mean, he ran those. He was Thomas Shelby.
Well, that's why they make the pocket pussies. Just put a little lube in it, my guy, and then you'd be good for another, I guess, 2 days.
I tell you, if that was me, I'd feel worse. So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound fun. That certainly isn't my ideal way to spend relief.
No, to have a pocket pussy that you gotta like clean and shit.
Yeah, it
No,
just sounds unsanitary.
and then what if somebody finds that?
Oh, fuck you for being in my room. Don't touch my shit.
That's a great point. What if like you got close with a girl and
I
she
would.
made
I shouldn't have that damn thing if I have a girl.
you know,
That means that relationship ain't working out well. Although girls probably do have their vibrators still.
that's a that's a valid point.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but
Those things are looked at completely differently.
it totally hits different if a man finds this one. It's like, oh,
Oh, yeah,
you don't need this right now.
yeah.
Uh, I see. I see what you're saying. I mean, look, I told you it was going to be a good show only because it's these are all thoughts that I think are articulated pretty well. That I don't know. Seems like people need to think about it.
Well, I mean, you guys let us know what your vices are. Maybe we missed
They
one.
are not gonna tell. Well, I mean, you could say food is a vice, fast food, McDonald's, right? There's tons of vices, but I don't think I'm gonna get DM saying my vice is prostitution and I live in Amsterdam.
You might get it from there because it's legal.
Yeah, stupid Americans.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, but I can go down the block.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. But I'm gonna label this show straight up: drugs, sex, alcohol, and gambling.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll catch attention since.
It may get the most clicks because everyone's got one of those vices.
Yeah, certainly. I'm gonna have a little drink tonight. Enjoy the rest of the night, and I guess that's my vice.
And I'm gonna go roll one up. And I guess I'll catch you next Monday.
I'm sure you'll talk to me before that, but we'll catch you guys listening next Monday.
That's for sure. By the way, my fantasy football name is Chris Chronic because Chris Chronic cares.
Mine's not as nice and fluent, but my nuts, your mouth. I'm out.
Oh, sex, huh?
Yeah.
End the show, you schmo.
Peace.